In this unit, we are going to study demand and supply. Let's start with demand. Demand is the quantity of a product which a consumer is willing and has the ability to purchase at a given price. Demand has a strong relationship with price. Let's consider the case of apples. At 100 rupees per kg, the demand of apples is, let's say, 10 kgs. If the price is reduced to 50 rupees per kg, more people will like to buy apples. So the demand can be 20 kgs. If the price turns out to be 150 rupees per kg, very few people would like to buy apples. We can clearly see that with the rise in price, the demand of a product is reduced. This inverse relationship between demand and price is called the law of demand. And various quantities of a product demanded at various prices is called demand schedule. We can also draw this on a graph where x-axis is quantity demanded and y-axis is the price. The slope of the graph marked by this red color is called demand curve. So what are the reasons for this downward slope of demand curve? First is inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, according to which demand will increase if things get cheaper and it can decrease if things get costly. Next is income effect. The income effect states that if purchasing power of people increases, the demand will increase. Like, if a person gets an increase in his salary, he is likely to buy more things as he has more purchasing power. Next is substitution effect. Let's take the example of apples. If the prices decrease for apples, people who were going to buy other fruits, let's say strawberries, might choose to buy apples instead, and therefore more apples are sold. And if the price of apples increases, many people might choose to buy strawberries instead, and demand of apples decrease. Now let's talk about what factors affect the demand curve. First is income of customers. With more income comes more demand. Second is size of market. Big cities have more demand for almost all goods than rural areas, so it's a bigger market. Third is the price and availability of goods, which means what kind of alternatives are available. Can I put diesel in my petrol bike because it's cheaper? No, I will have to buy petrol. And there is also the concept of complementary goods. If petrol gets expensive, bike sales will also come down because we need petrol to run bikes, which means they are complementary goods. These forces can cause a shift in demand. This graph only shows the relationship between price and demand of a product. But if demand is changed by other factors like increased incomes, bigger markets, or availability of substitutes, the demand curve will shift. Now let's talk about supply. Supply is the quantity which a supplier is willing and has the capacity to sell at a given price. We can also make a supply schedule, just like demand schedule, to write various quantities supplied at various prices of a product. And we can clearly see that with the rise in price, the supply is also increasing. And this is called the law of supply, as producers would like to produce more if they get high prices. When we plot this data on a graph, we get the supply curve, here given in blue color. Now let's talk about forces behind the supply curve. First, we have the cost of production. If the cost of production is low and you are getting high price in market, you are likely to produce more. And if your cost of production is more than market price, you would rather not produce. Second is the price of related goods, which means if price of a related good increases, you are likely to produce that related good and supply of the first good decreases. Third is the government policies. For example, if government gives more incentive to produce solar panels, the supply will increase, and if the government puts restrictions on some products, its supply will reduce. Because of such forces, if there is a change in supply of a product, the supply curve will shift. Now, if we take demand and supply together, we get the equilibrium point in demand and supply. This is the point where forces of demand and supply balance. According to the shifts in demand and supply, the equilibrium point will shift and settle at a new price. If there is more demand but less supply, the prices will increase. But if there is more supply and less demand, the prices will fall.